Councillors, if we can please stand for prayer. Almighty God, we acknowledge that we have a responsibility to look after your creation, especially this region we call Barcaldine Regional Council. We are also conscious that our decisions are going to affect deeply the lives, land and property of the people we have come here to serve. Remind us to exercise respect for each of our fellow councillors, staff and for the people of our region. Help us in this meeting to act wisely, justly and intelligently in all our deliberations. Thank you, Lord, for the privilege of both leading and serving, and assist us to do these well. Amen. Councillors, I will be holding condolences for the general meeting to be held tomorrow. I believe there is no apologies for all councillors present. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet and their elders, both past, present and emerging. Councillors, I call for any declarations of there you go, put me one go, Councillor Arthur, and I stuffed it up. Prescribed conflicts of interest. There being none, I call for any councillors who may wish to indicate a declarable conflict of interest in our agenda. There being none. Councillors, before we move on with this matter, and I think it's important that I note both formally for the record, but also in light of what is in front of us today, that when it's a difficult task for councillors, but all councillors involved, in undertake your role as civic leaders to have to undertake a task such as what we're discussing today, in councillor conduct. It's also tough for the councillor involved in this case in these things to go through something that's effectively a relatively public examination of their conduct. I'm sure not only the 7 of us in the room, but all other candidates that have stood for both recently and in the past local government do so with the very best of civic intentions, and that is to represent their community and make strategic decisions, and decisions that are in the best interests, in their opinion, for their community. And to do that requires the trust and confidence of not only the people we're here to serve, as I outlined in the prayer, but also the trust and confidence of the people in this room. So today is a difficult job. It's without, fear, something that I think as councillors and as regional councillors and very practical, non-politically aligned people, we will endeavour to undertake with the utmost of fairness and due diligence to ensure that the outcome that is reached here today is both fair and just and in the best interests of both the councillor involved, but also the future interests of both this council and councillors and staff that come to serve in our wake. But I do acknowledge that it will be a difficult task at times for both the councillor involved in this incident in question, and for those of us who will have to decide on an outcome that is relevant to the presentations we will receive. I admire the forthright attitude of councillors to deal with this on both sides of the issue, so that the situation can be addressed and not allowed to, I'm not sure that fester is the right word, but to drag on inordinately and perhaps affect the relationship of one or more of us in the conduct of our duties. So for that I thank councillors, and on both councillors who will sit here today and listen and make a decision, but also to council peoples for your willingness to see this matter brought to a head and dealt with in what will hopefully be an appropriate manner and transparently, notwithstanding we will close this meeting at certain times. So without any more preamble, councillors, could I please have a resolution to close the meeting for an initial discussion of procedural around recommendations we have under, I believe, the only appropriate section. There are 2 of them, but the most appropriate section to close the meeting initially will be under section 254, 3F. No, councillors, any?
And that's on the local government regs, not the Act.
That's the regulation, that's correct.
Yes.
And I reckon that'll be 2012. I'm prepared to move that. Second to Councillor Gleeson. Any discussion on moving into closed session? Sorry, Councillor Arthur.
Not sure how it falls under health and safety.
Well, mental health probably for a start.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, well, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I looked at it also from
physical health.
physical injury as well.
Yep.
Should consider that.
There was also the option for us to suggest E. Specifically, the second part of that, legal proceedings that may be taken by or against the local government. I felt that F more directly addressed it.
Happy with that, Mr. Mayor.
Put the resolution to move into closed session pursuant to section 254J, part 3, subsection F to the vote. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Going to closed session, please. And councillors, I'm going to need a resolution to move out of closed session, move into open session. So it's, are we rolling? Sorry. Yes. Sorry. That'll look good. Can I have a resolution that we move into open session? Move for Councillor Hanson, seconded Councillor Gleeson. All those in favour? 6-0. Can the record reflect that during closed session, Councillor Peoples retired from the chamber? Please. Which is why he's not present for the vote. I didn't make the time Councillor Peoples left, but it would be approximately 1:15. It was immediately prior to us reading. Okay. I have a motion for you, Hayley. It'll be in two parts, part A and part B. You have, so it will actually be of what you have there, part A and C. So if we can extract that off that area.
Sorry, are we going to be using either of these
sorry.
other items?
We will use them later on potentially.
Okay. Well,
They won't be required for this resolution. So all we're looking for here is A and C to become A and B. While that's being prepared, for the benefit of clarity and transparency, section 150AF of the Local Government Act 2009 requires, after earlier elements of the Act are followed with respect to an alleged conduct breach, that a local government investigate the councillor's conduct. This resolution will state that we will not appoint an independent investigator to further investigate. And we will, by resolution today, determine this in another way, which we will articulate here that following the second part of the resolution, or the second part of part A here, that due to the receipt of an apology email, the facts are not disputed, and that is consistent with our, meaning Barcaldine Regional Council's investigation policy, and this resolution will formally acknowledge and place on record that Councillor Peoples has engaged in inappropriate conduct in relation to the use of obscene language as identified under section 150K of the Local Government Act 2009. That resolution is in front of you, councillors. I'll give you a moment to just ensure that you're comfortable with what's presented. The council does not appoint an independent investigator pursuant to section 150A
Mr Mayor, is that
AF.
right? I was going to say.
Should be AF, 150 AF of the Local Government Act 2009 due to the receipt of the apology email. Formally acknowledges as I advance delay. If we're comfortable to proceed to the vote. Oh, sorry, I first of all need a mover for that resolution. Move to Councillor Plum, second to Councillor Hanson. Councillors, is there a debate required? I will now put the resolution to the vote. Those in favour? Carried 6-0. Councillors, it's now appropriate under section 150AH. Bear with me, please. So effectively, councillors, we have undertaken, actually, can somebody please invite Councillor Peter back in? We're still in open session, councillor. Council Peoples, as was acceded to by you, Council has now formally resolved that there has been a breach. Sorry, that there was an occurrence of inappropriate conduct. All councillors, it is now following the Act appropriate that we consider 150 AG, which is a decision about inappropriate conduct that has effectively just occurred by way of that resolution. Due to the fact that the investigation process was altered by resolution to accept allegation. Council has therefore decided that there is inappropriate conduct. The action now must be considered with respect to section 150AH. In deciding what action to take, the local government may consider two parts: any previous inappropriate conduct of the councillor, and B, any allegation made in that investigation that was admitted or not challenged. And part two of B here is the local government is reasonably satisfied it's true. Under 150AH, we now proceed to that part of the Act. There is a number of orders that Council may consider. Effectively, we only deal with part one of this because Councillor Beckers is a serving councillor. Part two deals with someone who is no longer a councillor. There's an A and a B. We order that no action be taken. Or B, we make one or more of the following 7 items. I won't list them now. I think it's appropriate now for Councillor Peoples to be given the opportunity to speak to what he believes may be, I know we're still in open session, sorry. Given that opportunity to speak to you, councillors, with respect to what he believes is appropriate action under 150AH. I think it's appropriate, if the councillor wishes for that presentation to be made in closed session, that council agree to that request. Councillor, would you like us to close the session?
Yes, please, Mr Mayor.
I would respectfully suggest, if that is the intent of council, that we'll close it under the same provisions we closed the meeting earlier, which is section 254J, part 3, item F. Unless I have an alternative suggestion. Can I have a councillor move that resolution? Councillor Gleeson, second, and Councillor Rogers, will there be debate? There being none, I put it to the vote. Those in favour? Carried 7-0. Right, can I ask somebody move that we move back into open session, please? Councillor Plum, second, and Councillor Hanson. Those in favour? Carried. 241. Right. I'll read this and then. So I'm actually, councillors, just cognizant, so we're going to delete C, D, E, please. Councillor Pickles, I think it's proper that you be present for this. I'm just aware of the Local Government Act around requirement for a councillor who's in the chamber to have their vote recorded. Unless I see a procedural motion to the contrary.
You want me present?
I think it's appropriate, I think it's required. However, there is the one time I'm thinking procedurally here, if a council, when we decide on the vote for whether somebody has a declarable conflict of interest or not, the council is present in the chamber and votes not recorded in the negative or in the affirmative. I'm willing to wear the result of the local government department saying my meeting conduct is improper. If councillors are happy, I think we can proceed here with Councillor Peoples present and he not vote and his vote not be recorded as a negative. Which is,
Mr. Mayor, when we discussed this right at the start, I had question marks going over my head how I could not have a conflict of interest when the penalty was going to be discussed about myself. If council is happy, I'm happy to say I've got a conflict of interest because this punitive action that you were going to take is against me. So that I don't think that really allows me to vote if the action is against myself.
yes, I'm comfortable with you not voting, councillor. If the other councillors are happy that we don't record your vote, but you're present, because part of what is now to be resolved is it articulates a reprimand, so I need you to be present for that.
Fair enough.
If the motion is carried, councillors, do you object to us not recording the Council of People's vote in this matter? These sort of things are a little bit irregular and the Act doesn't always cover for sufficient clarity. I think it'd be improper to ask Council of People's to vote on this. But
I wouldn't vote on it.
no, but technically, if you're here, I'm supposed to record your vote in the negative if you don't vote.
Do you want, just so as we try and get this right, would you be happier for me to, declare a conflict of interest and split this so as you give me the reprimand? I'm happy to.
I think if we go down council as a declared conflict of interest, we would vote that Councillor Peoples remain in the room and not be allowed to vote, which is now a new option open to us under that.
Yeah.
So if we go down that track, then you're covered and the meeting procedure's covered.
Yeah. I think that's
Rather than a prescribed conflict of interest in which dictates you must leave. If we're looking for a caveat to ensure that you remain here but don't vote, that's probably the only one open to me that I can see.
and I'm happy to go down that path and declare that I have a conflict of interest.
Councillor Arthur, I'm looking heavily at you because you're
No,
becoming our protocol officer.
No, I'm still thinking, or in the mindset of the older rules when you were at MPI, which meant you left,
Absolutely.
but it wasn't necessarily a conflict of interest, whereas the newer stuff from taking a little bit of time to get your head around.
As are we all.
Yeah, but no, that seems a reasonable, not a workaround, but a work through.
So it's a declarable conflict of interest.
Okay, so right here is a script. Can you just go to the next thing, the sample resolution? Okay. Councillor, I think what would be appropriate here is for you to just simply declare that you have a declarable conflict of interest as a result of the matter under discussion affecting your role as a councillor.
Yep.
Full stop, no need for anything more. Then I will resolve that it is in the public interest that Councillor Peoples remains in the room, however does not participate in the debate nor the vote on the resolution on the floor.
I'm comfortable with that.
Councillors, we
Yeah, I agree with that.
This is going to make fun viewing for whichever officer in the Department of Local Government watches this. I'm sure I'll get a phone call.
Mr Mayor, I would like to move that I have a declared conflict of interest, as the discussion moving forward will be about some of my actions as a councillor. Is that?
Yeah, that's appropriate. Just let them 2 seconds let my PA catch up. We did anticipate quite some emotions, so due to the matter referring to his actions as a councillor. Can we just insert full stop? Yep. Can we just insert Councillor Peebles declared a declarable conflict of interest?
Just put as declarable.
Well, he's declared he does, yeah, but we'll have to tidy the wording of that up in future meetings, but Councillor declared a declarable conflict of interest in the following resolution due to the matter referring to his actions as a councillor. I will now move that it is in the public interest that Councillor Peebles remains in the room, but does not participate in the debate or vote on the resolution. Councillor, as we're dealing with a matter related to a declarable conflict of interest, you don't get a vote in this. Can I have a seconder for my resolution, please? Councillor Plum. Will there be anybody speak against the resolution? There being nobody, I put it to the vote. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried 6-0. Right, have this is the agree. Yep. Councillors, that's the easiest thing for transparency in this. So we're attempting to make sure we cover our boxes as far as the legislation is concerned, but we now need to also refer to this resolution. So I'm going to insert orders. Can you delete the action for orders action for Councillor Peebles under section 150AH1, section B in brackets, subsections Roman numerals 2. Can they both be lowercase 2? And Roman numerals 6. I have got an IV here too. I'm as dyslexic as anyone. D is 5 and I is 1. Yeah. Section B, subsection 2 and 6, is that correct? Full stop. I now direct this bit to be included in the resolution, but I now direct these comments directly at you, Councillor Peebles. For clarity, Councillor Peebles is reprimanded for his inappropriate conduct via the use of obscene language in the presence of officers, and should Councillor Peebles engage in the same type of conduct again, it will be treated as misconduct, brackets, as per the definition of misconduct in the Local Government Act 2009. Just hold for that to be typed on the screen. These words now are the resolution. The direct explanation of that, and for the point of express clarity, is it would only be a matter identical to the one under consideration today that would be referred as misconduct. So any other activity that's not related to the use of obscene language in the presence of officers would still be referred to as inappropriate conduct and go through the same procedure as has been followed today. unless, of course, perhaps an investigation may be required in future instances. However, should an element, an item be identified as exactly the same as the one under consideration today, this order indicates that that would be referred as misconduct, which is referred to the Council Code of Conduct Tribunal for deliberation and consideration. Okay. Councillors, I just ask you to review what's been put on the screen to ensure that reflects the intent of our resolution. Makes it extremely hard to keep up when she does that.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I will wait until all councillors have indicated that they understand the resolution before I proceed. Actually, can we insert the words? Sorry, no, there is stuff missing there, sorry. So this bit here, for clarity, so insert, it's an and in front of should. Literally for clarity. So no, sorry, start with for clarity. For clarity. Councillor Peoples is, yeah. Councillor Peoples is.
Should, no, should Councillor Peoples. So the should stay.
No, sorry, we've missed a bit out about reprimand. For clarity, Councillor Peoples is reprimanded for his inappropriate conduct following the use of on-site language in the presence of officers. Small s on should. Small what should we got there? Just change the format. Councillor, that's just exactly what I read to you previously. Councillor Plum. Councillor Gleeson. Do I have a mover for the resolution? Moved to Councillor Gleeson, seconded to Councillor Plum. Councillors, is there any intent to debate? Will there be someone to speak against the resolution? See no signal. I therefore put it to the vote. Those in favour? Opposed? Motion is carried 6-0. Councillors, I reiterate the statement I made at the start. Can I, further than just reiterate the difficulty of a decision around this, in fact, the procedure having to be followed by council and the councillor in question, can I, from my side of this debate and discussion and consideration, commend you on both sides of this for the manner in which you have presented and deliberated and articulated today. It's an extremely difficult part of the role. However, I commend the maturity that individually and collectively this council has shown in dealing with something that is an issue that will, I'm sure, plague all councils in time. Maybe not the specific, but the occurrences of this will change under the legislation. I believe you've taken a very balanced perspective into this discussion, and I now hope that, as I said at the start of the meeting, we can leave this issue behind us and move on, undertaking the civic responsibilities of the community and trust upon all of us. Thank you very much. Meeting closed. 2:56.